Make sure I didn't miss any. Paula Fitzhenry, welcome to you. Sorry about the original. It glitched again and shut down right in the beginning of it. So sorry about that, guys. Right. Come on down. Let's see who else. Randy Burr, welcome back, my friend. Good to see you today. I think I have Mama Bear's link pin, don't I? Or do I not? Let me check. Check. Yeah, that should be Mama Bear's link. Yeah, it takes me to her channel. That would be Mama Bear's link pinned at the top of the chat. That way everybody can hop on over and say hello to the lovely Miss Mama Bear and like it over there too. Morning, Trish Crow. Good to see you.
I click on it. It takes me to Denise's channel.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Clicked and it took me to you, but hold on. Do I have more than one pin?
I just see Denise.
I don't know what that is. Message deleted. Sorry, guys. Well, I had it pinned. I went. Okay. Sorry. I don't know. This could have been from before. Give me a second here. Sorry, I was a little frazzled this morning, so I may have made some mistakes. No worries. I will fix them right now.
That's what it looks like, Stormy. Her comment was pinned on accident.
I apologize. I must have double clicked on something or something like that. Let me try this again. You guys know if I get off sideways a little bit, I do goofy things, so I'm sorry. Let me try it one more time. See if that works now. Replace pinned message. Okay. Does that work? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. It was weird because I clicked on it. Maybe there was another one over top of it or something, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got it. It's fine. We're good. Like I said, if I start swimming in my head with anything, I start making mistakes. So my apologies, everyone. Come on in, grab a seat. Ray Knightley, welcome to you. Great to see you. Mama Bear, how long have we been doing this?
Oh. See, before you were monetized, so probably close to 3 years.
Right. When I first started, it was kind of a hobby thing, right? I just started off kind of like a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then the channel became monetized, and yippee, it happened, so be it. And then moving forward, it kind of became, I guess, since I'm going for disability, guys, because I'm hurt. Years ago, I got hurt, so and so forth, and I don't have an income. It kind of became a job for me, per se, because YouTube creators get a paycheck from YouTube when they're monetized. So it's my measly little pitiful income that I have to buys me a loaf of bread here or there or whatever, helps my wife with her job, so on and so forth. But anyway, and that's the way it's been for years now. Nothing more, nothing less. And I've always done the same things, true crime stuff, right? I mean, together, that's what we've always done.
Yeah.
And I've not changed anything, right? I've been the same person doing the same stuff for 3 years now.
Yeah.
3 plus, I'm going to say. I thought, okay. And then I found something that I kind of felt a little bit of a passion for that I grew into, with all the cold cases stuff and children that go missing, things like that. I really felt like I want to help with that too, because I want to see these kids be found and these people be found and things like that,
And to see people get justice that deserve it.
Sure. It's all part of it. But I never came out trying to become a missing persons advocate or anything like that. I never claimed any of that. I just wanted to help, you know, because I don't like seeing that. And that's all I've ever wanted to do, but so be it, you know. And at some point, for some reason, I guess because I'm a monetized channel, that's not good. So
Hmm.
I backed off of that because I guess that you can't be monetized and do that, you know. It's like I added to what I do normally, trying to put it out there to help find some people. I didn't think that was a bad thing, but I guess in some senses it is. So I backed away from it because I don't want anybody thinking that I'm trying to do things for a specific type of reason, and it's not at all. Any of the families I've ever done stories on or anything like that to try to help get their words out, their stories out, to try to bring them any kind of justice. You know what I'm saying? I've
Mhm.
never expected anything from that. Never. I've never, ever, ever expected a pat on the back.
No.
I love doing this. I don't expect any kind of what do you call?
Recognition.
Yeah, I've never expected that ever. I mean, I don't. That's ridiculous to me. But I wanted to be taken seriously. When I started doing that, like I'm really here trying to help. That's not
Mhm.
recognition. That's just take me serious. I'm trying to do this for real.
Right.
But that's all. And I don't make with whatever YouTube pays out. I don't make whatever anywhere near enough to be able to turn it over to something else. I have tried to help in different ways, but I put up flyers and stuff like that I've paid for myself and stuff like that, but never, ever, ever anything else. So I guess some people misunderstand things that I've done or said or whatever, because that's really all I've ever done. I've never changed, never claimed anything, never wanted to be anything other than who I was, and continue doing what I do and just help out a little bit more on one corner of this whatever you call this.
Yeah.
Missing people. I feel bad. People go missing. You want to help. It should be a normal thing. Everybody should want to help, I would think, but that's all that's ever been.
Right.
So it is what it is. This is not a career by any means, and I've showed the ridiculousness of what YouTube pays their creators, unless you're a monster channel like Joe Rogan or Ickmail or whoever those guys are. I'm sure they make great money. I don't, and it's not a big deal to me. It never has been. I'd like to do better. Everybody does. Anybody
Mhm.
that is that would love to do better, but I don't go crazy about it. So be it. So anyway, I just wanted to verify or clarify with you what you think. If that's me, if I'm different, if anything's different, you know what I mean?
Nope. Same old as you've been for 3 years.
No, thank you so much, Moonlit, for that little
Aw.
dancing aerobic pair. Looks like a pair. The headband on. I appreciate that super sticker so very much, dear. God bless. And again, I gotta say, we don't ever expect these super chats, super stickers, any of the donations made. It's never ever expected, folks. If you choose to support our channel, God bless. We appreciate it because it does help me to keep going. We don't make anything, like I said, so thank you very much. I didn't monetize my channel purposely to do that. It just happened after a certain amount of time in here, and I, of course, most creators are. If you're not, God bless you, but most are. Um, so it is what it is. Um, just saying. Again, thank you so much, Moonlit. I just wanted to verify that. That's all. So sorry.
Yeah, if it'd been any different, I wouldn't still be here.
Neither would I. Just that way. I wouldn't want that either. But anyway.
I'm just
Whispers
saying, if you were
podcast.
about the money and the other stuff, I wouldn't be here.
If I was about the money, I'd have money.
Yeah.
I would imagine. And it's whatever. So be it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I do this because I want to do this. I do this because I really love doing this. Granted, it's nice to get a little allowance from YouTube once a month. It's like I said.
Yeah.
That's all it really is. So whatever. Anyway, I just it doesn't make any difference, but just wanted to make sure that was clarified. Whispers
Yep.
podcast, congratulations for being a member for 2 months. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Happy day anniversary to you. Welcome, Miss Taylor. Good to see you. Under and over it. Great to see you, Miss Kim with CLK Creations. Welcome back to you. SRBBBBBB and Miss Cassie. Good to see you, Miss Stormy. I guess I will have to do that, Taylor. I'll have to do that. I gotta join Miss Stormy's um, trivia thing too. That's a good point, Alicia. I don't know. Well, like I said, I've been this way for 3 years now, so nothing's changed. And I wasn't explaining that because I want anybody to donate to me, guys. I was just explaining that that's just who I've always been. It's nothing's any different. So everybody that has come on board here in the community has known me for the same content and person I am. Granted, we've gone back to Idaho recently because there's news in Idaho to talk about more than we had for a while, but that's all that's changed, really. I'm still doing the same stuff. And I added the cold case thing because I love this. I really enjoy doing the cold case stories a lot. Yes, Moonlit. I probably absolutely will, to be honest with you. If that goes retroactive to that situation, there's going to be some things I'm going to be doing to help out in other areas that I am not able to do. And I'll be able to donate to certain things, which will be amazing. I can't wait. Official. Good to see you. Yeah, guys, sorry the stream went down from the very beginning because it was one of the StreamYard was bugging, SRB. It was bugging. It was one of them stupid glitches. It started and then it just shut down. So my apologies, everybody that came in the first time. So sorry about that. Have you heard? I think you have. I think we talked about this before, Bear. The Burger Chef murders.
Mhm.
You remember? Okay.
It's down the street from me.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Somebody sent this to me, and I know we had talked about it a long time back, but this one's pretty interesting. Again, for anybody that bugging, yes. For Idaho, good to see you. Trish Crow. If I didn't say hi to you guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch up now. Yes, we're working on getting Mama Bear monetized right now. She's almost there. Almost there. Has your watch hours gone up at all?
They were 6:10 this morning.
Yes.
So we're getting there. Yep.
We're doing it, guys. We're doing it. That is awesome. See, this community is awesome. Thank you guys for helping in that aspect all the way around. I love it. She does too. She appreciates. I thought I would let her talk. Yeah. Good for you. Good for you, Bear. And guys, share this out. Make sure to hit the like button here and make sure you jump on over. The link is pinned to the top of the chat the right way now. And hit that like button for Mama Bear, please. And thank you if you would. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, it's definitely. She deserves it, guys. She started this channel up 3 years ago, little after me.
Yeah.
And her life has been chaos, and she's been here and she's been working and she's been doing this, and now it's her turn. So yes. Thank you, Stormy. You guys are welcome to join our Discord and hang out with all these awesome peeps in there. You get to hang out with the moderators and all the meatballs, myself included. I jump in there every so often too. It's a good time, guys. So please check it out if you will. Thank you, Stormy, for that. All you got to do is send an email off to Miss Brandy B, the OG, at mama350@AOL.com. Title it Discord, link, and state your YouTube name so we know who you are, of course. And we'll get you in there. And if that doesn't work, I believe that Wisdom Speaks can help you out too. Yes, Miss Stormy has a Discord as well. You can jump into too. It's somewhere in here, I think. Let me see here. So the Burger Chef murders, like I said, is a crazy situation. Wild case, completely unsolved still. Very weird. And like I said, for those of you that aren't familiar, Burger Chef used to be like a Burger King, McDonald's, Hardee's. Here in Ohio, Burger Chef they were all replaced with Hardee's here. I do believe. Yeah, it was Hardee's. Yes, it is the Somebody caught it. Somebody caught it. Official got it. The Jersey Shore. Cabs here. Yes, Sath. Sath got it. You know where that came from? For anybody that's curious, the meatballs. Um, because my name's Dago. I'm Italian, obviously. And somebody was talking about it in the very, very beginning and said something about because all of my mods at the time were meatballs. 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 Listen to me. And if you remember Jersey Shore, somebody threw the whole thing out there and it just stuck. And after that, everybody became meatballs.
Yeah.
Jabsia. And yes, I did watch the show just because you had to. It was so funny. All right. I worked at Hardee's when I was 16, Randy. Yeah, I miss Hardee's. We don't have it anymore. Our Hardee's here was replaced with Arby's now. And Arby's is okay, but Hardee's was the best. I loved it. Trish, if you want to send, is Brandy in here? Did I see her? No.
I don't think so.
Stop being a muff cabbage. A muff is full. Oh my god. Oh yeah. Is she in here?
I don't
Brandy,
think.
I don't think so. Okay, Miss Sherry, we need to figure out just a regular link that we can pin and just have it. Well, no, that's true. It works better this way.
Mhm.
Yes, Hardee's is the same as Carl's Jr. Official. Are we doing this? Sherry, are you doing it too? Let me see if Brandy's busy and if she's all right. Hold on here real quick. Yeah, because I want to do some music stuff in our Discord, maybe some trivia stuff, some games I found in there that I thought would be a good deal.
Well, Wisdom said she can.
Are you okay with it, Sherry? I don't want to put you out. If you want to, you can. If you're comfortable with it, please. Miss Sherry, Wisdom Speaks will put something in here in the chat in a second, and you can go through her to get into the Discord that way. Sometimes Brandy gets busy. Plus, they've had some storms and stuff, so I don't know how they're doing down there. Yeah, so Hardee's is now what Burger Chef? Burger Chef that used to be just a plain old like McDonald's burgers and fries. Really, I can't remember. I know I liked it, but I don't remember too much of it. Okay, so if you are interested in jumping into the Discord, you can send an email right here to that email right there, jamesonsherry@gmail.com. Okay, put it in there for it's Discord. Put in there the name that you have here in the channel, and then she will send you a link back via email, and you'll be in. Yeah, it was good. It was good, Kim. I remember. It was good. We had Burger Chef back then and Red
What's
Barn. Anybody remember Red Barn?
name's Castle? White Castle official?
Mm,
That
White Castle's another place. Different, completely different. White Castle, yeah. They got the little tiny sliders. I think we have one in Cincinnati here. The only one yeah, it's the only one I know of in Ohio.
I haven't had those in years. Years and years.
They sell them at Aldi's and a lot of grocery stores. You can buy frozen, pre-made. Randy-
Soggy bread, yep.
White Castle. You guys remember? Randy remembers it. Did you guys have Red Barns in Indiana, Mama Bear?
It doesn't sound familiar.
No, big red building,
I don't think so.
and it literally looked like a barn. But yeah, we still have one of the buildings here. It's now called Chat and Chew, but the White Castle burgers are good. I like them. It's weird because I'd rather have them frozen in the grocery store than the fresh ones, if that makes any sense. Okay, sounds like a plan, Taylor. Their fries aren't the greatest. They've got little chicken sliders too, I guess. Eddie's in the house. Eddie, one made night. You missed it last night, buddy. It's all right. We'll be here tonight. Old Barn Outback Smorgasbord. We had, I think, the last smorgasbord they called it was the Dutch something smorgasbord we had in Boardman here. Welcome, Cat K. Good to see you today. 33 peeps in the house, 26 likes. You guys are getting there for sure. Chris Doheny. You know what, dude? I thought that too until I had them fresh, and oh, my stomach did not like that. The frozen ones are better, and I like them, the cheeseburgers. I don't like the ones without cheese. I miss Pizza Hut when you could dine in. Oh, dude. Or ma'am. Sorry, I don't know what you are, official, but I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, when you could go into Pizza Hut, they would bring the pizza to the table hot, sizzling still, and they'd cut it, put it on your plate, and they would pour out of the big pitcher of Pepsi with tons of ice in it, a glass of Pepsi. That was the best in the world. I swear to God, you guys, it really was.
We still have Pizza Hut.
I
haven't been in there, but
we do too. But I haven't been in. I think I've heard that it's changed. Like it's not as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can order from Pizza Tub here. Pizza Tub. What the hell's Pizza Tub? Pizza Hut here. You know, have it delivered. But sitting down, that's what I heard. It's froze. And it's not as good. Even if you order the original pan pizza, it's still not good. You're a man. Okay, good. Good. First time. I definitely don't want to call anybody out. Like my bushy eyebrows. That's great. Them are bushy. That's awesome. I love you guys. People in here are amazing. I just want Bonanza back. And Rax, roast beef, Chad's. I've never heard of any of them places, Moonlight. Ever. It does. I think Mikey said it's frozen, official, so it probably is. I don't think they do though, because saving money and making it faster, they use frozen stuff. That's not Pizza Hut, sorry, because it don't taste nothing like it. With the Balakov lava, yes. Rax, never had Rax.
Never heard of Rax.
Me either. We had that place with the little. It's a tiny little fast food place. They just put it back.
Bonanza like Ponderosa.
It sounds like it would be though. I don't know, but it sounds like it. Ponderosa's gone. Yeah. They got rid of ours finally last 2 years ago, which they needed to. It was gross. Last time I went to Ponderosa, my wife and I went probably 15, almost 20 years ago. And the steak, we didn't do the buffet all the time. I wanted the steak, right? I would get the steak and chicken. Chicken was okay, but the steak was white. That was a problem for me. Ponderosa used to be the shit. Bennigan's. Never heard of that. Bonanza. Oh, buddy. If you knew how much oil goes into the pan pizza, it's like a half a cup that gets squirted into the pan. And Lou. Yeah. Well, it definitely don't taste like it used to, bro. But that was the bomb back in the day when you could go sit down. They'd bring it out. The pizza was good. You know, you could eat it with a fork. It was that hot. And it was just, the bottom was crispy and it was all good. Never heard of Mr. Steak. Do we have a Fazoli's? Nope.
We do.
Italian, good to see you. You have a Fazoli's? What is it? It sounds Italian, obviously.
It is. Just a fast food Italian.
You can't make Italian fast food. That don't make no sense. What's up, Peaky?
Yep. You go up to the register, you look at the menu, you pick your stuff, and yeah.
And it's fast? Like, so what do they sell food-wise?
Spaghetti, fettuccine Alfredo, penne, pasta stuff. I don't know. I haven't been there in years.
Nope. You
The
cannot.
breadsticks were good.
Okay, I'll give you breadsticks or pizza or something like, or a turnover, but no. Pasta and like, hell no, you can't make that fast like that. That's crazy.
It's not bad. I just haven't been there because it's in Avon, so it's a town over.
SRB's heard about it, and she's here with me. Never heard of it. Phil's in the house. How are you feeling today, Miss Phil? Please tell me you're okay. I was thinking about you all day after that. I had everybody here praying for you too. I hope you're doing all right. Thank you for joining us. Abdawa's Big Boy. I remember Big Boys.
Buca de Beppo, we have in the state. Not one nearby me, though.
I hope so, Phil. Pay attention. If something ain't right, please go get checked. That's all I'm saying. Puka, what did you just say? Puka de who?
Buca de Beppo.
Buca de Beppo. Never heard of that.
I had him a couple times. I wasn't thrilled, but maybe it's because it was real Italian instead of fake Italian.
Authentic Italian is the bomb. Okay, good to hear, Phil. Let me know if everything turns out okay, please. Buca, yum. She knows. How come you have all these ideas, or you know all these places? I know why, because you're closer to Mama Bear than I am. So you guys are probably sharing that border thing. And okay, never heard. We have a margaritas here, and of course, I hate even saying this out loud. Olive Garden. That is the furthest thing from authentic Italian food you'll ever have in your life, as far as I'm
Buca de Beppo's original thing was to be New York style, and they would insult you, and you would come in through the kitchen. The bathrooms have pictures of Sinatra and lots of hairspray.
New York style pizza, like the big slices. If that's true, then that would probably be good. We had a whole chain here called Brothers. They all came from New York, and that's what you would get. And they would stand in the window making the pizzas, tossing it up in the air, and you get slices like this big. And it was about that thick. It wasn't that super thick stuff, and it was good. It was really good. New York style pizzas, the bomb. At least to me. We have Little Italy.
Said no, New York style, like being rude in a funny way.
They also had a Pope room upstairs. That was special. It sounds like it. Oh, there you go. Zuppa Discona. Good stuff, Chris. Now that is something that Olive Garden does. Their soups aren't bad. I'll say that. The breadsticks are good. Their salad turns out okay, but their food is gone by the wayside. You used to get, what was that thing called? Because I never knew what I wanted at Olive Garden. So we would sometimes get the tour of Italy, which was a few different things. Nope. Okay. You having trouble seeing too, Phil? Come on now. Olive Garden has just gotten caca.
Yeah. And you wait 2 hours to get in there. At least at ours.
Their lines are stupid. You're right. Sausage and peppers. Rustica. Oh, dude, you're killing me, Chris. Pepper and egg sandwiches. We have in Cleveland here. We have a place called Little Italy. There's probably 3 restaurants within Little Italy that are absolutely to die for. Period. You can walk up to the one restaurant, and there's a window, and they're standing there making cannolis and all their pastries and stuff in the window. The cannolis are like probably that big around, and they're overflowing. And my God, they're so good. So good. Sausage and peppers. Yes, it is so good.
Yeah, official. We have Cheesecake Factory.
We have one of those here too. That's about the best thing from their cat. My wife loves their breadsticks and salad too. She
Trish,
buys
you
the.
sound like me. Authentic Mexican or steakhouse any day.
My wife is all about the authentic Mexican. That's her favorite. My favorite is Asian. Texas Roadhouse is probably the best steakhouse around here. Someone want to go to the doctor? Tomboys in the house. Nope, sorry. That's what my wife says too. Official with Olive Garden, the unlimited salad and breadsticks, because their salad is good. Texas Roadhouse is probably my favorite place around here, outside of Asian food. We have a place here called Mizu's, and it's Japanese steakhouse, where they cook at your table type thing. And they do the hibachi and they do sushi stuffs. And the hibachi is like, I love it. I could eat it every day, all day. It's stupid expensive though, so we don't ever eat there. Thai food. I've tried a little bite of Thai before. I've never had like a full meal that was Thai, so I don't really know how to explain if I like it or not. I've had some $60 to $70 steaks that don't compare to Roadhouse steaks. It's what, yeah. They're whatever they do with their steaks are good. They're good. Thank you, Randy. God, I really hate delivering DoorDash to high schools. I bet that's a pain in the butt, Sassy. Thank you for being here again. Hibachi grills are the best in the world to me. They are the best foods. Thai is yummy, pad Thai, and the sweet and sour soup. Tell you the first time I went we had a Japanese steakhouse. It was called Yamato's, and they were cooking at the table. And you pick a meal. I think I got steak and shrimp or something, and it comes with rice, and then you get the hibachi steak and shrimp cooked, and they do a salad, which it's just a little salad, and you get ginger dressing, which is good. I like that, and then you get a bowl of soup. They put the soup in front of me, and I remember looking down, and it was a big bowl about that big. It was all broth with one mushroom and one bean sprout in it, floating. And I just looked at it and was like, so it's a bowl of broth, and it literally had one mushroom and one piece of green bean sprout or something. The broth was good. Don't get me wrong. Yes, Yamato's, RCR Yamato's, I think is closed now, but the dressing was amazing. I loved it. We bought it. We found it and bought it at the Giant Eagle here. Be careful, Sassy. 45 minutes. So it was a chain out here. I think ours is closed because I think that the other place, Mizu, took over the business because it just tastes better. All right. Guess we should get things a movement. Now that we've all gotten ourselves nice and hungry. Still here, Bear? Or did you take off to go eat something?
No, I'm here.
Okay. So, some news. And this has been, let's see, we're at 46 years. This case is cold. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That might be my daughter in the background, Chris. I don't know. Can you hear?
I hear her, but it's okay. It doesn't bother me. There you go. You got the Wong soup. That was good, Critical. Good to see you. All right, guys. I'm going to start this off like I do with these cases with some form of a news break on it. And
40 years since 4 teens went missing from a burger chef near Speedway. They were found murdered a few days later in Johnson County. The mystery has stumped investigators, but they are asking for help once again. News 8's Joe Muillo is here with a look back at what they are asking for now. Joe.
Infamous case here in Indianapolis. New evidence of this 40-year-old cold case, and the family members of the victims are speaking out to make sure their loved ones aren't forgotten.
These aren't just victims. That was my sister.
Just 2 days after 4 teens went missing from a burger chef on Crawfordsville Road near Speedway, their bodies were discovered here, off a back road near Route 37 in rural Johnson County. The teenagers were killed, 2 shot in the head, another beaten, and another found with a knife in her chest. To this day, the case is considered unsolved, and the memory of that weekend hasn't faded either.
Almost like you're a zombie immediately. Reality stops and you're floating.
It's easy to keep a 40-year-old secret if no one talks about it.
The state police detective now overseeing the burger chef case is First Sergeant Bill Dalton. They decided to release this picture, new evidence of a knife found in one of the victims.
So that's not a knife that somebody carried in there. That's a knife that is carried, or most likely carried in a sheath. So, which is distinctive.
The only way this case gets solved is with new leads.
But if it becomes the topic or the point of discussion, and everybody is talking about the burger chef murders again, then holding that secret becomes a little bit more difficult.
We don't have all the answers. And there's someone out there that does.
Police say if you think that knife looks familiar or if it jogs your memory of someone carrying a sheath around, call Crime Stoppers 317-262-TIPS. They're still listening, and leads are still trying to get solved, or the case is still trying to get solved. Joe Muillo, Wish TV, News 8.
I'm pretty sure that they're not going to carry a sheath around from a knife from 46 years ago.
Huh? What? I missed that.
And I'm pretty sure people aren't going to be carrying the same sheath around from a knife that they had from 46 years ago.
Lord, I'd hope not. But
I mean, they said they found the knife inside one of the victims. Why are we just now talking about this 46 years later? That's crazy. Welcome, musical. Good to see you today.
hello.
It is very sad. They were just kids. They were just kids, you know. And this didn't have to happen. It didn't. It is very strange, Eddie. I thought that's so myself, but I don't think he knew what to say. That's probably why. Yes, Alicia, more sheaths. All right, guys. Let me get this rolling, and then we got some more new stuff after the fact for you guys. It's just it's been so long. It blows my mind that
The safe was empty, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. That's the problem. So it was there was a lot of different theories on this, that it was an inside job and this and that, everything else. Now there's witnesses, and from my understanding, they tore the building down finally a year ago. A little over a year ago, I think.
Really?
All right, guys, I'm loading this in. Bear with me. You know, this is slow sometimes, so thank you for your patience. I was 4 years old when this went down. It happened in the month I was born, too. All right, here we go. Again, guys, let me know how the audio is on this.
4 employees were finishing up their shifts at a fast food restaurant. These innocent workers were taken hostage and then brought to a field where something terrible would take place. It's been 46 years since this happened, and not one person has been arrested. This is the case of the Burger Chef.
That's so hard for me to believe. 46 years and not one time have they arrested anybody. That's crazy to me, folks. At least with some of these cold cases, they have people, they arrest people, they go through this, nothing.
Murders. Hello, friend, and welcome to High Time Crime. My name's Joel, and on here I specialize in true crime and also dabbing into philosophy. Now you can become whatever it is that you truly want to be.
Funburger's going to put a smile.
The owner of Burger Chef decided to sell the restaurant chain, the name and trademark, to Hardee's, and by 1996, the last Burger Chef restaurant closed. I do wonder what they tasted like, but here's a Burger Chef commercial to give you an idea of what it was like.
It's Burger Chef and Jeff.
Rooting burgers, no one's happy here. Even the dogs frown.
Not for long, Jeff. My new Funburger's going to put a smile on every face.
Puzzling pickles, what's a fun burger?
Well, it's a delicious burger with a smile on the wrapper and a prize inside, like this flying top.
Or maybe a dune buggy.
Yes, or perhaps a bubble pipe. The Funburger with a surprise prize, only at Burger Chef.
Incrediburgable.
But anyway, back to the Burger Chef located on 5725 Crawfordsville Road. Once again, there were 4 employees inside. You had 20-year-old Jane Freet, the assistant manager. The cook on grill.
Yeah, they were. Chris, I agree. They were better than McDonald's and Burger King both. They were probably one of the best. But Hardee's came around, and Hardee's was really good too, so I have to give them that.
Was named Mark Flemons, and he was 16 years old. Another boy, a 16-year-old named Daniel Davis, was there, and Ruth Shelton was 17 years old, and she was also there. I'm going to give you a little background about all of them to give you a better understanding of who they were. First off, Jane Carol Freet was born on May 2nd of 1958 to her parents George and Carolyn Freet. Jane had 1 sister and 3 brothers. One of those brothers will be talked about here soon, so remember that. But Jane was a kind girl who worked as an assistant manager at Burger Chef. She had worked there for quite some time, until about 3 months prior to November of '78, when she was promoted to assistant manager at the Crawfordsville Road location. Before this, Jane was being moved around to other Burger Chefs and filling in for managers and other people. It was said that Jane was a Girl Scout leader when she was younger, and a very gutsy girl. Jane supposedly had a boyfriend for about 2 years or so, and for the past few months before that day, she was seeing this guy on and off. He would typically go to her apartment. Jane lived alone, however. Jane was said to have dabbled into some of the good green. She didn't drink much, and it was said she was firmly against. Once again, I'm going to get further into this in a bit, so just remember this point. But apparently about 2 weeks prior, Jane had fired an employee who did something involving, I'm not sure what, but apparently he could have blamed her for firing him. There was also another employee that was supposed to work from 10 p.m. to closing time on that Friday, but he didn't show. He had been in trouble for something earlier in the week and was fired, but nobody told him. Jane could have possibly fired him, but I'll talk more about that here shortly. Jane, for the last week, had been receiving weird telephone calls. In one, she was asked what she was wearing, but she didn't really take these calls seriously. Now, Jane, in the weeks leading up to that Friday, had 2 interesting conversations with 2 different people. The first one being with, I believe, her boyfriend. Though it's redacted, it also could have been someone else. But this person had said they had gotten robbed several times and that they talked to Jane about it. Jane had said that if she ever got robbed, that she would give up the money right away. Jane also had a conversation with her coworker, Mark Flemings, and they were eerily talking about these Sirloin Stockade murders committed by a guy named Roger Dale Stafford. Basically, 6 employees of a Sirloin Stockade restaurant were murdered in cold blood. While Jane and Mark were talking about this, Mark told her, "Don't worry, that he'll protect her because he's been taking karate." Now, the next person I'll talk about is Mark Sylvester Flemings, who was born on December 31st of 1961. Mark was about 6 foot tall, 158 pounds, and considered to be a cool guy. Mark's father said that he wasn't a very good student in school and was on probation for shoplifting. Also, not long before this, Mark got into a fight at his high school because someone stole his hair pick from his back pocket. It was said that Mark and Jane were good friends, and in fact, that they were on a path to possibly getting into a relationship. But something interesting here is that 2 months before, November 17th, Mark's father made him quit his job at Burger Chef because of a girl who was working there. Mark and this girl were having some sort of relationship, and Mark's father thought it would lead to nothing, and he told Mark to break it off. Mark told his father that this girl didn't want to break up, and so Mark's father made him quit. Once this girl kind of faded out of the picture and quit Burger Chef, Mark started working again only 3 days before. On Friday, November 17th of 1978, Mark and his sister India, who also worked at Burger Chef, left for their shifts at about 4:10 p.m. They lived close enough to the restaurant to where they could walk, and so they did just that. Mark and India got there at about 4:15 to 4:20-ish or so, and Mark was set to work from 4:30 p.m. to close, or about 12 to 2 a.m. India was working from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. To add to this, though, I don't think Mark was supposed to be working that night, and he took a shift from a girl named Ginger. Mark apparently tried to get out of this at the last minute, but the manager made him have to follow through with it. I believe that could have been Jane. At 8 p.m., India got off and Mark took a break from work. They then went across.
This is kind of scary because thinking about when this happened, like most kids, these kids' age, I know I did. Like I said, I worked at Hardee's. I don't know. Did you work at any kind of fast food restaurants when you were in high school, Mama Bear?
Long John Silver's.
That's awesome. That was my favorite place back then. I love it. You don't need it now, but you know. So a lot of us did this for, and worked the late shift to close in high school. And thinking about this happening back then was something nowadays, sure, I would imagine, but back then it's like, no, this is what we did. And a lot of people did this, and it's scary as hell. The Speedway murders, it's on Prime. Oh yeah. I've heard that too, at least. I'm gonna have to check it out because I've never actually seen it. I've heard about it. So yeah, I mean, it's a scary thought that this went down the way it did. So just a thought, guys. If there's any questions about this, please feel free to ask. I'll stop and answer the best I can. And how you said this was down the road from you? Like how far down the road from you?
10 minutes, if that.
Oh wow. Okay. And you were probably 3 or 4 at the same time when this happened too. So, yeah. We're what, a year apart, you and I?
Yeah.
That's why.
So 78. So yeah, 3.
I was 4, right? Okay. My wife was 1 year old. She's just a baby. But yeah, it's a wild situation, guys. The more that we get into it, you'll see. So
Across the street to a place called Galaxy Disco for teenagers. It's interesting though, because while Mark was 16, his sister was either 21 or 22, so not really a teenager. But it cost about $2 to enter, and the brother and sister didn't have any money. Eventually, 2 boys and 2 girls, who were Mark and India's friends, came out of the Galaxy Disco, and then they all went back to the Burger Chef. Eventually, the friends would leave the Burger Chef. Mark would get back to work, and India would catch a ride home with Daniel Davis, her coworker. Daniel Roy Danny Davis was 16 years old and born on September 6th of 1962. It was said that he didn't have many friends and that he was somewhat of a loner. Danny, in the afternoon, would typically take a computer course at the high school he went to. Well, that high school bused them to another school, but close enough. Dan would usually drive from school right to Burger Chef. It was said he was really into photography and even had a photo lab in his house. He loved reading books and modeling airplanes. Dan was also a member of the Civil Air Patrol, which, according to Wikipedia, is a congressionally chartered, federally supported, non-profit corporation that serves as the official civilian auxiliary of the United States Air Force. Dan wanted to join the Air Force as soon as he would graduate from high school, where he averaged to be. Now, I believe that Dan had been one of the people to tell on his coworkers to his manager for, I believe, smoking the good green in the back of the restaurant. This is most likely the person that...
Does he keep calling it the good green? That's what he's saying, good green. I know what he's referring to. Dude's kind of funny.
Jane had fired about 2 weeks before. It says something about this in the FBI report, but most of the information is redacted. Also, Dan's mother wanted him to quit this job and find a new one closer to where they lived, but he insisted that he liked it there. On Friday, November 17th of 1978, Dan, at about 9:45 p.m., called his family from work and asked if he could stay late or until midnight to help out his coworkers because they were down a person at work, and also that he needed the hours to earn money for Christmas presents. His parents told him that this was okay, and this was the last time that they would ever talk. Now, the last person inside of Burger Chef was the 17-year-old girl, Ruth Ellen Shelton, who was born on December 19th of 1960. Ruth was about 5'4" and 85 to 90 pounds. She was a small girl and a junior in high school. Ruth was on the honor rolls list and never even so much as had a boyfriend. She kinda had this little fling with a boy from her church youth camp, but it never really went anywhere. Ruth originally worked at the Dunkin' Donuts that was very close to the Burger Chef, but in July of 1978, she went to Burger Chef to begin working. It was said that Ruth was not involved in any and didn't have any mental issues, that she was usually calm during a tense situation, but would be quite upset about it afterwards. Apparently, a few years before 1978, Ruth was out shopping with her dad when she was caught shoplifting. This wasn't reported to the police, and a bit later, her parents found more stolen items in her room, but they made her return them all. After all of that, Ruth's grades picked up, and there was no more issues later. Ruth's parents also stated that Ruth never ran away from home, and that at some time she actually had a problem with Jane, the assistant manager. Apparently, Jane would make Ruth do all of the dirty work, and Ruth complained to Jane, I guess, and then this problem was fixed. On November 17th of 1978, Ruth's mother drove her to work at about 3:45 p.m. and planned to pick her up that night. So now you have a bit of an understanding of who was there that night. To recap, you had Jane, the assistant manager, Mark, the cook, who was said to kind of have a fling with Jane, Danny or Dan, the teenager who just wanted to get more money for Christmas, and Ruth, who was just very innocent. Now, let's dive into what possibly could have transpired this awful night. On that Friday, these 4 workers were closing up for the night. Earlier, I mentioned that they were short-staffed. Well, another worker, a guy who I'll call Paul, was supposed to work that night. He was scheduled from 10 a.m. to closing, or about 11 a.m., but they would all stay till about 12 to 2 a.m. And that night, or November 17th, Paul's car started to have trouble. And so he called Jane, the assistant manager, and told her that his battery was dead. Paul made this call at around 9:35 p.m. At around 11:30 p.m., Paul called Jane again and told her his battery was fixed and asked her if he still needed to come into work. I'm guessing Jane told him to, because right after they got off of the phone, Paul left and he headed to Burger Chef. Though I am a bit confused here, because I believe Paul was the one who had gotten fired earlier in the week. I'll talk a little more about this shortly. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, these 4 employees were cleaning up. And there's a lot of mystery, theory, and speculation about what exactly happened. But what we do know is that it was most likely Dan's job to take the dumpster out. And so I believe that's what he did. Typically, when the employees would do this, they would also leave the door cracked open. Well, after taking the trash out, Dan would go back inside. And very shortly, I'm talking within minutes, all 4 of these employees disappeared. Now, a different employee, whose name was Brian, went out together with Ginger, the employee that Mark took the shift from on that Friday, and he brought her home at about 12 p.m. The 2 of them drove past the Burger Chef, and this was at about 11:45 p.m. When they went by, they noticed Jane's car was not there and the lights weren't on. Right after this, Brian then went to the Burger Chef to see if he could help them finish cleaning up. The reason being was because one of the people that worked that night actually helped him clean up one time. And so Brian wanted to repay the favor. Eventually, he would make his way to the restaurant and start going to the back door. Immediately, he noticed that the door was cracked open. Brian, at this point, was already kind of suspicious.
Welcome, Peaky. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us.
Because it was normally closed. So he then went inside, and immediately he could tell that something was very wrong. Brian found the cash register drawers on the floor with no money in them, besides coins, and the restaurant's safes were open as well. About 2 to 5 minutes later, the other Burger Chef employee, Paul, pulled up in his father's van type of truck. Brian told Paul that there was some sort of robbery, that the door was open and nobody was inside. Brian said that the normal cleaning procedure was started, but the floors were dirty still, and the broiler was on too. Brian said there was change all over the place and the safe was open. He said there was 2 purses, both Jane's and Ruth's, and there was no sign of a struggle. Paul said that he wants nothing to do with us, and so he left the scene.
This is in Indiana, like right down the road from Mama Bear, CLK. Or Kim, sorry, hon.
Brian then called their other manager, probably the general manager, and told them what he found, and they told him to call the police. Within about 15 minutes, the police were there, and immediately they did not take this entire thing seriously. Brian told the police that he felt it was unusual for Paul to show up at the restaurant because he was scheduled to work from 10 p.m. to close, but he didn't show up. Also, Brian felt like Paul wouldn't have wanted the assistant manager, Jane, to see him. For some reason, the police had thought that the employees had basically stolen the money, which was $581 total dollars or so, and went out to have a night of fun or something like that, which obviously makes 0 sense. Not only did the police say that, but they told the employees for the morning shift to clean up the restaurant as normal. Yes, they told employees to clean up a crime scene.
Are you guys hearing that? So when they came in the morning, they had the morning crew clean up a crime scene. That's helpful. Well, there's probably one of your major explanations as to why this is 46 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, you wouldn't. Mama Bear, if you walked into a situation and you were the manager per se, and you looked around and seen these, what would be the first thing you would do?
Probably run outside and puke.
Well, I mean, Yeah, but I mean, you would contact law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
And in turn, they would say, "Don't touch nothing." They tell these people to clean it all up and get it ready to go. This is insane. Jesus.
Very strange, as I don't think that has ever been a normal procedure. But the employees did just that. And get this right, the police actually went back and staged a crime scene there to take pictures for the FBI.
You've got to be kidding me.
Good
So that-
old Indiana.
we talked about this before, but I've never heard that before.
I haven't heard that either.
They staged the crime scene to take pictures to make it look good. This is nuts. So, okay, now we know why this has been 46 years that this has not been solved, you guys. Everything, any bit of evidence was thrown away and cleaned up. And then, so let's pretend we have a crime scene to take pictures to make it look good. This is insanity. Good
Mhm.
Lord. Jesus.
Because they got involved about a day later. The FBI took notice to these pictures and thought they seemed weird from the beginning. On Saturday, November 18th of 1978, the police really began their investigation and called all of the parents of the missing people and started to talk to witnesses that were in the area. First, we'll start with
Thank
a
you,
girl
Chick-fil-A.
who was friends with India Flemings, Mark's sister. At about 9 to
Yeah,
9:30
yeah.
p.m., these two girls were inside the Burger Chef when two poorly dressed white males came into the restaurant. They were only there for about 30 seconds, looking around before they decided to leave. This girl only noticed these men because they were dirty and dressed like it. The next witness was a guy who was friends with Mark Flemings. He was actually there at the restaurant with India and her friend at the time, but he said he didn't see the guys. I also don't know his name, and it's not super relevant, but basically this guy and Mark planned to meet up at 11:30 to 11:45 p.m. to walk home together on that Friday. This guy was having fun at the Galaxy Disco for teenagers, and at about 11:55 p.m., he left the disco and he started to walk towards the Burger Chef. He noticed that the lights were on and he saw two males standing in the counter area, and he said that they were around the same height, but they weren't dressed in Burger Chef outfits like the employees typically would be. When this friend of Mark's saw the light on, he felt relieved because he wanted to walk home with Mark. And so he started to jog over to the restaurant. By this time, the friend had gotten to the restaurant, and it couldn't have been just a minute or so. He looked inside and saw no one. The friend then went to the back side of the restaurant and noticed the door was completely open. The friend began calling out for Mark several times, but no one responded. This friend said that the parking lot was empty except for Jane Freet's car and a Ford Pinto station wagon, which was Dan's car. Now, Jane's car being there at that moment is interesting, and we'll dive deep into that here shortly. There were three other witnesses: a mother, her daughter, and the daughter's friend. The mother was picking her daughter up from Dunkin' Donuts after the daughter and her friend were at a roller skating party. The mother got to Dunkin' Donuts and went inside to get some donuts. And she saw a four-door station wagon pull into the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot and face the Burger Chef restaurant. Inside were two white guys who appeared to be off-putting. The mother said that the car was also old and junky, and after being inside of Dunkin' for about 5 minutes, the mother went back to her car. The daughter and her friend saw these two men, and these guys were trying to get their attention. Two more witnesses, the last ones, were a boyfriend and girlfriend. And I believe the girlfriend worked at a different business next to Dunkin' Donuts, which was located right by Burger Chef. But at about 11 p.m. or so, the girlfriend got off of work, and the boyfriend was there waiting for her. The two of them then went behind Dunkin' Donuts so that way the girlfriend could smoke a cigarette, but she realized she didn't have any matches. She asked her boyfriend to go to Burger Chef to get some matches, and so he did. He got them from Ruth Shelton. The boyfriend then went back to his girlfriend, and they went behind the Burger Chef building by the railroad tracks, so that way the girlfriend could smoke. While sitting down, all of a sudden, two guys approached them. Both parties of the couple have zero idea where the men came from. They just kind of appeared. Both of these men were white and dirty looking in a way. They were very sketchy and didn't seem right. One of the men asked the couple if they had ID, and the boyfriend responded and said no. The man then told the couple that they better get out of there because there's been a lot of vandalism in the area. The couple then got up and walked away, and when they looked back, the two men were on the railroad tracks still. Now, all of these witnesses gave a very similar description to what these men looked like, and here is the drawn composite sketches. A very interesting thing to note here is that the girlfriend that we just talked about said that the police officer that interviewed her that night kind of resembled one of the guys she saw. This is interesting because of what comes in a bit. At about 4 a.m. on Saturday, November 18th, police found Jane's white 1974 Chevy Vega abandoned next to a park, not too far away from the restaurant and only a block away from the police and fire department. The passenger side door was unlocked and not all the way closed, and the driver's side door was locked. If you remember correctly, an interesting thing about Jane's car was that the friend of Mark's who called out for him had seen Jane's car in the parking lot still at about 11:45 p.m. So it makes you wonder what exactly happened, or where were they in that short period of time? A few people who lived where this occurred said some things about this situation. One neighbor claimed she heard a loud noise while watching a movie from 11:30 to 12:30, but she didn't really care about it. Another neighbor said she heard a car door slam, and when she looked out her window, she saw the white Vega parked in front of her house, but she thought it was her neighbor's. She said this happened at around 12:30 to 1:30 a.m. The last neighbor said that he was out visiting his girlfriend when he got home at 1 a.m. He parked directly in front of the white Vega, and there was only one other car on the street during that time. That was his neighbor's. This guy said that at about 1:30 a.m. that he heard a loud noise outside that sounded like a trash can was being knocked over or a car door was being closed. On Sunday, November 19th of 1978, a couple was walking on their property in the White River Township when they discovered all 4 bodies of these innocent workers. They were all dead, and not all of them were killed in the same way. Both Dan and Ruth were found lying face down and were both shot multiple times with a .38 caliber gun. Jane's body had been found anywhere from 30 to 75 yards to the south of where Dan and Ruth were found, and Jane had been stabbed twice in the heart, and the knife's blade actually broke off into her chest. Mark had been found around 75 to 80 yards to the west of both Dan and Ruth, and it's unclear exactly how he died. There's speculation that he was hit with a chain or something, and that caused blunt force trauma, and then he may have tried running away and ran into a tree. The police were absolutely baffled. They had no idea what they were dealing with. And I'm now going to go over what exactly happened afterwards and the theories surrounding this case. Well, first off, a reward was put out for anyone that knew anything about what happened to these employees, and that was for $25,000. On November 20th of 1978, Ruth Shelton's father began to receive a ton of harassing phone calls. The next day, on November 21st, he received 2 more phone calls harassing him about Ruth at about 3 a.m. and then at around 8 a.m. This same day, a phone call was made anonymously through a payphone to the police and their tips hotline for this case. The caller stated that a guy with the initials PH was involved in this murder. The next day, on November 22nd, Ruth's funeral was held, so were Jane's and Danny's. This day, Ruth's father received an anonymous sympathy card, and someone who he didn't know rang his doorbell at 8:16 p.m. Mark's funeral came a few days later, on November 24th of 1978, and this same day, the police released clay busts of what the two men who were seen behind Burger Chef may have looked like. A couple of days would go by, and on November 29th of 1978, a huge clue appeared when a letter came in to the Indianapolis Star. This letter goes as follows: if you can talk the DA department into giving complete immunity, there are 3 persons involved in which was to be nothing more than a simple robbery. But 1 person did the shooting and 1 did the stabbing. And the 3rd person sit in the car and was very surprised. I am not the 3rd person, but I do know this person would give up and confess if you promise immunity. The 3rd person does not want your reward money, just immunity. But I would like to have it. I can tell you this, the 2 people that did the damage is no longer in Indiana. On December 3rd of 1978, a guy was held in jail because police believed him to be a suspect in the case, but he was cleared quickly. 2 days later, on December 5th of 1978, the Indianapolis Star received another letter from the same guy, and it went as follows. I don't think I will be able to help anymore. The 3rd person is now scared that even if you would give complete immunity, that they, the killers, would have someone kill the 3rd person sooner or later. But you got to believe that the 3rd person didn't know what was going to happen to the 4 kids. When they all arrive in the woods, they were just going to tie them up and leave. Supposedly there was nothing about killing them. The 3rd person tried to stop them, and supposedly while after the first child was shot, the 3rd person yelled run and got beat up for it. I wish the one that ran into the tree didn't died. That way maybe you policemen would have had these killers locked up by now. The 3 are not together and haven't been since that morning. I will not turn in the 3rd person because I believe the story I heard was the truth. I got my fingers crossed that maybe the inmate at Sin, Ohio might just know one of the killers and that maybe you'll clean this mess up yourselves without getting the 3rd person involved. But I have got a plan that if everything else fail, we might do. If you would put in the newspapers that there might be a 3rd person willing to talk, then the 2 men might just come into town to kill the 3rd person. I would be close in hand just in case. I have a gun and I would use it on them. I'm sorry that I can't help any more than thus but break a promise. 15 days later, on December 20th of 1978, the Indiana Attorney General at the time, a guy named Theodore Sendak, was sent a letter by most likely the same guy who sent letters to the Indianapolis Star. This letter has a lot of redacted names, but reveals quite the amount. Mr. Sendak, Your Honor, here are the names of the murderers in the Burger Chef at Speedway. These are the murderers. This guy continues by saying 1 man transported bodies and that he doesn't have the name of someone. Also that the motive was jealousy. This man said something about getting sweet with Freet, so they had to have somehow kind of known Jane or something. Just a quick tidbit here, Jane also was known as Sweet Jane. But this guy said that the kids were murdered in a rental house. Also that the FBI and police department are involved in a cover-up. That someone whose name is redacted as an investigator in the strike force under a different name, and that she used a bunch of different names. That this woman set up the robbery and misguided everybody. This is what I was referring to earlier with the witness or the girlfriend who was behind the Burger Chef. She said that one of the guys kind of resembled a police officer. But this man continued this letter by saying that the sketch in the paper of those people resembles someone. And
Let me ask a question, Mama Bear.
Mhm.
I know it's crazy. Have you ever heard, and I hate to even bring this up, but considering what we've heard with this so far, as far as staging the crime scene again because it was cleaned up and all this, have you ever heard of anything that had to do with any kind of corruption with law enforcement in these areas at all?
No, but I
No.
do know back then it was just a small country farming town.
Mm-hmm. And
So I
yeah,
looked it up, and the population in 78 was like 13,000.
very small.
Yeah. I mean, right
Right.
now, it's still small because I think, where did that go? The census from 2020 was 13,952. So it's only gone up 900 people in
Right.
30
That's,
some years.
that's pretty sad. So yeah, I get it. I get it. I just wondered because of the way some of these things happen. Now I know these letters people receive during situations, it's a lot of it is just somebody trying to get involved in,
hmm
whatever. But I just wondered out of
Yeah,
curiosity.
no, I haven't.
All right.
And later down the line said he'll bring more information to Mr. Sendak's office. I believe this man then went to his office and they talked, and this guy actually drew a map, and that depicted the location of where the bodies were found. This map was very accurate in the detailing, and they even asked him if he visited the crime scene afterwards, but he had never been there before and actually learned about everything through the people responsible and their associates. After this happened, for some reason, the case of the Burger Chef murders would go cold. There's also some more things that happened in 1979 that I'll talk about later. But on November 18th of 1980, a letter was sent to the regional director of the FBI. It was received on November 21st and reads as follows. I don't think that this is the same guy as before. I think that they might be different, but I could be wrong. Gentlemen, this note is again anonymous. I have a bad case of amnesia. The last 2 days have been pure hell. I am the individual who survived the night of the Burger Chef mass murders. I intend to come forward in June of 1981. The reason is that I must do some things before then. The act as a witness will ruin my life. I did not pull the trigger that killed Jane. Russian roulette against my head was the killer's first pleasure. They also had me redacted. I believe I may be able to identify them. I believe they are the ones held in Minnesota. Maybe, though, if they were professional hitmen, they wore disguises like those two in Minnesota. Now, I was a mere customer. I tried to get away, but they forced me with all of the other 4. Jane was kept away from us. It was democratic that we not try to gang up on one. They had several pistols and very long knives. It was therefore democratic that we all run for it. The girl was shot first as soon as the dash took place. I was going to stay behind to face them. One knocked me into the ground and went after Mark, and the other chased Dan. We had thought Jane already dead. Later, I was bound. Then Jane was there bound. She said, along with me, we did not want to die. 3 clicks against my head. I did not die. They unbound me and put a gun in my hand. Meanwhile, they both held me, one with his hands on my hand and that gun, and the other with a long knife at my throat. They found out I did not want to pull the trigger and kill Jane. I did not. The one's hands on my hand pressures me so against the fingers that the gun went off and Jane lie dead. It was dark, very dark. I thought I was dead. This was when I was forced, I believe, to beg for my life. The one who killed by hand, Mark, suggested to the other that they let me go since I was now somewhat involved, so I would be a decoy. They gave me
Okay, this is crazy. I don't remember hearing about this letter before either.
Mm-mm. There's a lot in this one that I've not.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff in here than the original. So again, this is a little weird. So anyway, on we go.
Hi, Aurora.
me Jane's car. I do not know why I am not dead. I feel dead. I was just a mere customer. I cannot kill. I am not like they are. I want no publish of this until June. I want you to keep it secret from the press until that time. Please furnish copies to the IDP and SWP. I want immunity. I am not guilty of any crime. I was only a customer. I should be dead. I am sorry that I lived. I also want to start a new life somewhere else. Further down on this note, it states that the guys who murdered Jane and the rest of the employees were paid to kill Jane. I don't think anything ever came from this note, as he did say that Jane died in a different way than how she actually died, and a lot of it seemed a bit off. I don't know who wrote these notes either. In 1981, quite a lot of things would happen. First, beginning in late January, an investigation was started into a large cocaine dealing ring. 3 people on March 5th of 1981 were arrested, and one of those people was James Freet. James was the brother of Jane Freet, the assistant manager. An undercover agent busted these 3 guys for all selling over 30 grams of cocaine. The guy's group name was The Company. Now, about a week later, James was being looked at as a person of interest in the murders of the Burger Chef employees, including his sister. It stated that the investigators had a direct link between the murders and narcotic dealers. I think that was James and his sister's relationship. About 6 days after they started looking into James for the Burger Chef murders, they ruled him out as a suspect. Now, what's really interesting here is something that's stated and I don't believe brought back up again. The police, when they reported about James now being looked at as a suspect, said that they were informed that Mark Flemons, the Burger Chef cook, was in fear for his life a day before all of that happened. Apparently, he owed a pusher $7,000 and told a friend of his that he was afraid he would be killed if he didn't pay the money back. Very interesting, but once again, I don't think anything came from this. A common theme here. Though James was given a 6-year sentence, all of it was suspended besides 40 days, and he already served those days. So basically, he was a free man. But a few months later, on May 27th of 1980,
What kind of a sentence is that? What the hell's going on with this case?
I don't know.
Once again, I think I understand why 46 years later there's nothing here. This is insane. Very weird. Sorry.
1981, I believe the same guy who sent the notes from earlier went to the Indianapolis office of the FBI to talk about what he knew. These conversations were taped, and I don't think they were ever released. Another very interesting thing would happen the next year in May of 1982. On Thursday, May 20th, 4 men were arrested for the Christmas Eve murder of a drug dealer. One of those men was named Kevin M. Flemons. This was Mark's older brother. Kevin pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit robbery, and robbery. He was sentenced to 25 years on each count, and the sentences are to run concurrently. I brought this up because of what we just talked about involving Mark. I don't know if Mark and Kevin hung out and Mark was involved in everything Kevin was doing. I really just don't know, as a lot of the people involved in this are now deceased. Also in 1982, a woman, I'm unsure of who, went to talk to the police with some knowledge about the murders. Now, a few years would go by with no real leads until November of 1984 came, and the biggest clue or evidence would come out. A guy named Donald Wayne Forrester called the Speedway investigators from the Pendleton Correctional Facility and told them he knows about what happened at the Burger Chef. This man was 34 years old in 1984, and let me give you a brief little history of Donald. I couldn't find a crazy amount of information on him, but this should give you enough to get an understanding of how horrible he was. Donald, at the age of 28, was a divorced father of 2. He had 7 sisters, and he was also a 3-time offender. He was first charged in California and then the charges were dismissed when the victim refused to testify. Donald was also convicted of assault and battery with intent to commit sodomy against a family member. He served a total of 6 years and 10 months in jail and was released in October of 1978, only a month before the Burger Chef murders. The next year, on March 31st of 1979, while Donald was on probation, he was out with a friend or cousin of his named Dale. This year, Donald was 28, and while he was out with Dale, they went to a disco. By the time the early morning rolled around on April 1st, These two men were harassing the waitresses and guests, and so the manager told them to leave. After Donald and Dale left, they drove to an all-night diner just across the parking lot. They went inside, had some food, and took notice to a woman who was by herself. They never talked to her, though. When this woman left, Donald and Dale followed her and then started to trail her in her car. This woman became a bit suspicious and then pulled to the side of the road. Donald walked up to her and put a gun to her head and forced her out of her car into their car. While inside of the car, Donald and Dale took advantage of this woman, especially Donald. A bit after that, Dale was the one driving and Donald was in the passenger seat. Donald began to look through his clothes to find his gun and told Dale to take her to the country because Donald was going to kill her. This woman very bravely, while Dale was driving at about 20 to 40 miles per hour in a neighborhood, jumped out of the car and ran to the first home she saw and called the police. After a week and 1 day, the police, who said they were working 18 hours a day on this case, finally caught up to Donald and Dale, and they were both.
Oh, 8 days it took them to find these two who were right there. Jesus. This is a mess, you guys. It's a big old mess. Way messier than I thought it was the last time we looked at this with all this other stuff involved, you know? Crazy.
Arrested and charged with a lot of things, specifically. Eventually, Dale ratted out Donald, and Dale was given a 6-year sentence at a youth center because he was 19. Donald claimed that Dale knew nothing and that he had a 6th grade reading level and was an idiot. Donald was sentenced to 95 years in prison, and the jury took about 40 minutes to convict him. So now you understand who Donald is. Well, between June of 1985 to about November of 1986, Donald was in contact with the police and confessing all about the Burger Chef murders. This all happened after an inmate who knew Donald since they were kids basically outed him in November of 1984 and gave the police a huge confession. At first, the police thought Donald may have been lying, but then they realized that he was most likely telling the truth. Donald began to describe in very vivid detail on how each person died and what exactly happened. He basically stated that on the night of November 17th of 1978, James Freet, Jane's brother, had owed money to some bad people, and so a few dealers went to the Burger Chef to, for some reason, harass Jane, even though it was her brother who was the problem. But while this was happening, Mark Flemons, the 16-year-old cook, had walked up to the guys and basically told them to stop messing with Jane. This started a fight between them, and Mark fell and he hit his head and lost consciousness. Afterwards, the people responsible thought that Mark died, and so they decided quickly that they needed to get rid of any witnesses. Next, these men got all of the employees together and got them to go to Jane's car. I guess they must have put Mark into the trunk or something. Then they drove to the park area, and I read that they got into their getaway car and left Jane's Chevy Vega there. Now, I'm curious if someone was trailing behind them in the getaway car, because if not, the car being parked where it was would most likely mean that this crime wasn't just random, but deliberate. But afterwards, the men drove the workers to a field, and Donald said he was the one who shot Danny and Ruth, and that he also helped to kill Jane. I read that Mark may have been beaten with a chain, but that he ran into a tree and died afterwards. Now, Donald at first claimed this was all related to, which that part I'm a bit confused about. Donald also at first claimed he didn't kill anyone and asked for full immunity and a few other things, claiming he knew where one of the murder weapons, a pair of bloody boots, and a coat inside of a bag were. It was at a house on Patricia Street in Indianapolis, Indiana. When the investigators went there, they found nothing. Though the police also drove Donald to the murder location, and he was able to tell them exactly where every person was killed. Donald told police that the murder weapon, a .38 caliber pistol, was thrown into the White River, which was close to a bridge downtown. Police went there and tried to find it, but did not. And to be fair, it had been about 8 years since Donald had apparently thrown it in there. But between June of 1985 to November of 1986, the police were in communication with Donald about a lot of things. Before they started talking to Donald, though, a detective originally on the case in 1979 had talked to some reporters and said some crucial information. This detective said that Donald Forrester's ex-wife made a statement in 1979, a year after the murders, that she had actually been with Donald when he took her to the scene of the murders about 2 weeks after it happened. This ex-wife said Donald searched for shell casings along the stream by where the workers were found, and that Donald found 6 casings. One was large, and the rest of them were small. Donald then drove the 2 of them back home. He flushed the casings down the toilet and then made a phone call to someone. Chiming back in again, how on earth were the police not able to find those 6 casings? How did Donald go there 2 weeks later and pick them up? Not only this, but also in 1979, it was the year Donald was convicted in his case. The police filed some reports that stated they believed Donald had knowledge about the Burger Chef murders, and they made that statement after they had an interview with him after he got arrested for his heinous crime. Donald told them he wasn't going to talk about Burger Chef in 1979 because he felt like he had been prejudiced with the witness in his other case and that he was innocent. But when police heard the story from Donald's wife about the casings, the police went and got a search warrant to search the septic tank, and they found the .38 caliber shell casings. So basically, there's 2 huge pieces of evidence right there. I mean, the fact that Donald's ex-wife said that he did it and went and got the shell casings, and even said she went with him, and the fact that the police went themselves and got them out of the septic tank. Donald wrote the police an apparent 1,200-page statement. I don't know if that's a typo or not. Maybe they meant to say 1,200 words, because 1,200 pages is incredibly long. He implicated multiple other people in the story, I believe 3 others. Donald, by the end of November of 1986, was set to be charged with the crimes of murder. But on either November 17th or 18th, Donald recanted everything he said and claimed that he was coerced into saying he did it because he wanted to get a better sentence and also to buy some time. Donald would later state that he didn't want to be seen as a snitch or get harmed in prison for helping the police, and that he was also mad that some of the police officers leaked stuff to the newspapers. Donald recanting his statement would basically make any charges invalid, and the DA decided he didn't want to try and charge Donald because of a supposed lack of evidence. Even though they had the shell casings, Donald's confession, his wife's confession, and a bunch of other evidence too. This would essentially make the case go cold, even though they also had the names of every.
That's insane. They have way more evidence than cases we've seen recently and don't even charge the guy, and we've seen people convicted on 100 times less. This story is a mess, Mama Bear. A complete mess.
And somebody in the chat asked if it would ever be solved, and I don't think it will be.
At this point, I don't think it can either.
No.
Especially hearing all this extra stuff now.
Right?
No.
Everyone else involved. Even to this day, the police are stating that anyone who has any information to let them know. But I think that they're the ones who have all the information really needed. Years later, in 1999, Donald restated in a videotaped confession that he was a part of the Burger Chef murders. The sheriff at the time said he expected no action on the confession, which I don't understand why. About 7 years after this, Donald Ray Forrester would die in prison on June 27th of 2006 at the age of 56 due to cancer. This case has been cold since 1978. At the time of this recording, it's been just about 46 years. all of these innocent people would be in their 60s right now, enjoying the later half of life, but they were never afforded that opportunity. It's very upsetting as none of the parents of the victims are alive anymore, and time just keeps passing. There is a lot about this case I'm confused on, and I'm sure you are too. That involved whether or not Jane's brother was involved. What exactly was going on with Mark's supposed debt to a dealer? And how exactly did Mark die? Also, the police in November of 2018 released an image of the knife that was used in the attacks in hopes that someone could identify who it belonged to. I don't understand why they would do that if Donald supposedly had given them every name of the people that were there. It's hard to believe that Donald would have lied about what he knew, as his ex-wife implicated him. Plus, the police literally went and got the shell casings. I just don't understand why they botched this case up so badly. They talked to Donald in 1979 and his ex-wife, and they suspected Donald of being a part of it. Another question that I'm a bit confused about is earlier, I stated that Mark's friend came into the parking lot and saw Jane's car and Danny's car, but no one was inside. What exactly happened within that couple of minutes? Were they being held hostage inside somewhere? But whatever, it's a pretty small detail. There's just a lot of things I don't understand about this case, such as why were both Danny and Ruth killed by being shot? And why was Jane killed by being stabbed? It's very personal compared to being shot. Me personally, I'm going to boil this down to the police messing it up from the very beginning with the crime scene. They cleaned up any footprints, fingerprints, or DNA evidence they could have extracted. They screwed things up royally and even attempted to fake as if they didn't. Just so upsetting. My last thing I want to touch on here is who sent the original notes? Was that also Donald? Because it was said that the map that was drawn was very accurate in detail. So I'm curious who sent all of those original notes. I couldn't find an exact statement saying who it was. I pray that one day this case can be solved, or if the perpetrators are still alive, they can be arrested. I genuinely hope that Jane, Mark, Danny, and Ruth are all resting peacefully. None of them deserved this awful fate that they were given.
That was insane.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. It sounds to me like the police didn't want to solve this case. In some senses. Starting off with the fact that the crime scene was completely they cleaned it, guys.
Yeah.
And or whoever management was at the restaurant, I have questions about them coming in the next day, and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, hold on, 1 second here. Because it was initially listed as a suspected robbery.
Yeah, because they weren't killed at the restaurant. They were just kidnapped from the restaurant. And then they were taken 30, 45 minutes to an hour south, which I don't get that either. But
no, nothing makes any sense. Police did not initially consider the case to be serious, given that management reported the loss of only approximately $581, equivalent to $2,800 in 2024. From the state, no clear signs of struggle. It was thought to be a case of petty theft, with the assumption that the pilfered cash had been used by the youths to go partying that night. More than $100 in coins was left in the registers Although the purses and jackets of the missing women had been left at the shop, the theft theory initially seemed most likely, and the scene was cleaned by employees early Saturday morning. So it sounds like to me that the manager basically thought that the kids that worked there ripped them off, took some money, and went partying that night, and that was it. Which these people are stupid.
It was
Really?
78. That's probably what they did.
Yeah,
Country
but-
kids. Steal
Yeah,
some
but
cash. And
To see
go
the
get
person
some good
jack-
green.
Good green, yeah, the good green was the thing. That's probably the problem. Everybody was smoking the good green all the time.
Hmm.
Nobody was thinking at that time. No offense, not saying people don't think. I'm just saying back
Right.
then. But
Oh,
all
they did leave behind their purses. That's right, Chris. I forgot.
right, the purses and jackets were all left behind. Buddy Elwanger, a Speedway police officer who was eventually assigned to the case, admitted, "We screwed it up from the beginning." You think, buddy? Jesus. Not only was the restaurant cleaned and allowed to be reopened, but no photographs were taken beforehand, effectively eliminating all potential evidence. Yo, I still don't. Listen, as a manager of a restaurant, you come in the morning, the safe is emptied, the place is a bit of a mess, everybody's gone, but their cars and their purses and their jackets are there. You're not gonna like call police right away. You just open the store and get moving. No, this is like I said. It almost made me wonder if I guess the openers or the manager was involved at first. You know, when the Ford did not reappear the following morning, the Freets Debbie Vega was found partially locked in town. Concerns grew. It became evident that the youth had been abducted. You think? While closing the restaurant for the night, with the attack possibly beginning as they removed trash bags out the back door. On Sunday afternoon, the hikers found the bodies of all four 20 miles away in the wooded area of Johnson County. Both Davis and is that that's a rural area too?
At that time, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's it's in the like Greenwood area, which is huge. It's got mall and all of that. So
Okay. Got you.
it
And
would've been back
again,
then.
both Davis and Shelton had been shot numerous times with a .38 caliber. Freet was stabbed twice in the chest. The handle of the knife had broken off and was missing. The blade was later recovered during an autopsy. Flemings was later determined to have been bludgeoned, possibly with the chain, and died from choking on his own blood. So all of them were killed in different ways. Which tells me the possibility of more than one person being involved. I mean, I would imagine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
4 victims were still wearing their Burger Chef uniforms. Money and watches were found on the victims, which does not apply a robbery.
No.
The leading theory that investigators have that the 4 victims were kidnapped during a botched robbery, possibly after one of the victims recognized one of the perpetrators.
That could be.
I guess Flemings was covering for another employee's shift, was not scheduled to work that night, leading investigators to speculate that perhaps he was the one who recognized the killer, since they had not planned on him being there. Okay. On the night of the murders, a 16-year-old eyewitness saw 2 suspicious men in a car outside the Burger Chef just before closing. Both men were white and in their 30s. One man had a beard. The other was clean-shaven with light-colored hair. The police had models of the suspects created in clay to assist the investigation. Later that year, in 1978, a man in a bar in Greenwood bragged that he had been involved in the killings. Police subsequently questioned him, but he passed the polygraph, claiming not to have been involved. Officers were unable to bring charges on other. See, these people, like, they're coming in and out of the I did it. No, I didn't. I did it. I was just kidding. No, I didn't. I did it. I did it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I did do it. Well, he did it. No, he didn't. This is ridiculous. Ugh. I've never seen anything like this. And then these letters, you guys, are crazy. Investigators continue to follow leads relating to possible suspects as far away as Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Chicago, and Dallas. but they were not able to find any more promising leads or able to locate the evidence. Again, of course.
Right.
Mel Wilsey of the Marion County Sheriff's Department got the call from Donald Forrester that was in Pendleton Correctional. He claimed to be involved. See, that's the thing with this. With him, there's things that don't match up, but there's things that he did know. So that's weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And according to Forrester, Freet's brother, James, owed money on a drug deal. So he and 3 other associates had gone to the restaurant to threaten her. This is kind of believable to me because of the different types of the way that they were killed.
Mm-hmm.
3 other people. So somebody had a chain, somebody had a gun, somebody had a knife, and it sounds like they were, you know what I mean, each
Right.
doing their own thing here. That fits for me. It truly does. Forrester claimed to have shot Davis and Shelton, gave the names of the 3 men he claimed were responsible for killing Flemings and Freet. He then led police to a spot where he claimed he had thrown the gun in the river. However, a search didn't find any weapon. Wilsey interviewed Forrester's ex-wife, and she said he had driven her out to a wooded area shortly after the murders and retrieved several shell casings, which they found in the septic system. So there's another piece of evidence that could have been used. He got a warrant to search the septic tank, turned up several 38 caliber spelt. But then again, a 38 caliber was pretty standard back then, and they could have been used for something else. But still, no, they still should have charged him. I'm sorry, that's stupid. And then he recants his confession, so saying he was coerced. So did they have the guy in the corner with the gun to his head, like we saw in that one video, telling him, "You say you did it right now"? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I
makes you
know.
wonder, did this all? I mean, guys, I'm sorry, I sound stupid, but this does sound somewhat corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy dies, so there's nothing you can do if he did it or didn't do it. Despite thousands of hours of police investigation, as well as the Burger Chef offering $25,000 to anyone who could capture the murderers or provide information about their whereabouts, nobody was ever prosecuted. Case remains officially unsolved. The Indiana State Police continue to keep the case open and have reportedly investigated the use of DNA trace techniques. That's what they need to bring in the DNA experts on this at this point and see if anything can come from it.
Right.
Something. Excuse me. It just doesn't make any sense, guys. I didn't know there's a case out there also, the Kentucky Fried Chicken murders out of Texas. And the McDonald's massacre. I guess there's a lot of these restaurant cases. I didn't know about that. Okay. Let me see if there's any updates here. I did have a couple of things earlier that I saw. It's very frustrating. Under and over it. If I remember correctly from watching this before, or of the purse was connected somehow to where the victims were found. That's kind of what I was waiting for too, Tomboy, I thought, but I don't know. Hold on here. Well, they found the original FBI file on this. Kilgore Fried Chicken murders. Never heard of that before.
Mm-mm.
I'll have to cover that one too.
We just said the McDonald's massacre. If it's the one she's thinking of, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, from my understanding, there were children involved.
Of course, it was McDonald's.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I didn't know there were this many of these types of cases, though. Yeah. All right, let's see what this says. It says this is an update recent from 3 years ago. Let's see.
In tonight's Indy Unsolved, the murders of 4 Burger Chef employees in Speedway back in 1978 may be Indiana's most baffling and enduring murder mystery. It was a case police admit was mishandled from the start. For the first time, Fox 59's Russ McQuaid talks with a key witness in the case about he remembers about that night.
What happened here on November 17th, 1978 still haunts a man who was a boy back then, but was the first to walk into this former Burger Chef restaurant and figure out something was wrong. Brian Kring was an employee of the Burger Chef on Crawfordsville Road 43 years ago and told me what he saw when he walked in the back door that night.
You know, when I was walking around, I did walk in the manager's office, and I noticed that the safe is sitting wide open, cash drawers are laid out. And that's when I called somebody, and they told me to call the police.
During the first hours of that Friday night, police thought maybe employees Jane Fright, Daniel Davis, Mark Flemons, and Ruth Ann Shelton cleaned out the cash register and took off. A theory that was horribly discredited when their bodies were found in a Johnson County field 2 days later. What do you think happened to those kids that night and why?
Oh, it was drugs. Somebody owed somebody.
Investigators think these men, now all dead, were part of a...
So they called the police the night before, and still nothing was done right. They went in the next morning and cleaned it back up. I didn't think they called police till the next morning. I don't understand.
Crew robbing fast food restaurants and shooting people in Indianapolis in 1978. In 2018, one of their friends, suspected as being part of the crew but not there that night, told me he didn't think this case would ever be solved. 3 years ago, Indiana State Police showed us the knife used to kill Jane Fright and the bus of 2 men who were spotted out back of the restaurant the night of the killings.
It was botched, and I believe somebody recognized somebody, or somebody physically tried to overtake whoever tried to come in, and they hurt that individual or whatever.
All these years later, Brian Kring says he is still haunted by the Burger Chef murders.
I always thought it could have easily been me. You know, I could have easily missed them by 5 minutes, 30 minutes.
Kring still has his doubts about an ex-employee who he says showed up that night just after he did, but split once he knew the cops were on the way. Kring says he'd like to talk to investigators about his concerns. At the former Burger Chef restaurant in Speedway, Russ McQuaid, Fox 59 News.
I do believe so, Sally. I guess they did. They made a movie about this. Let's see here. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, truly, guys.
Yeah, I don't.
It's wild. Hold on. So June 20th of last year, they said they talked to a producer that was putting a movie out on this because it's unsolved. And I haven't seen or heard. I have to look around for it. I understand that they keep certain details away from the public, but waiting for 20 plus years to release information. Thank you. Well, hell, for waiting for 40 years roughly to drop the weapon and say, hey, we found this.
Right. Or
Could
maybe
this
it's
be-
been there and just nobody looked on the website. I don't know.
Crazy.
I don't know.
That's nuts. This is wild, guys. This is probably one of the wildest things I've ever seen or heard. There are no other updates. I don't think this will ever be solved at this point now.
No.
I just don't. Well, there it is, guys. The Burger Chef murders. It's again 46-year-old cold case.
There's a documentary that came out in 23 called The Speedway Murders.
There's a trailer for it, guys. I was just looking at that. I'll show you the trailer for this. So if you guys want to go find it and watch it, of course, please do. Yeah, they tore the restaurant down last year, finally. Let me see here. Yeah, this is the trailer for the documentary.
On November 17th, 1978, 4 employees of the Burger Chef restaurant in Speedway, Indiana were abducted.
The bodies of Jane C. Freed, Mark Flemings, Daniel R. Davis, and Ruth E. Shelton have been discovered late this afternoon.
You're supposed to find the bad guys. That's the way the movie's supposed to end.
The Speedway police, they fumbled and bumbled that case all the way to hell.
Somewhere, somebody knows what happened.
Hey, Mama. I was just wondering if I could stay back to help close.
Ruth was 30 days away from being 18.
Once Mark get off work, I'ma meet him. Black kids don't walk by themselves in Speedway at night.
I wonder if something was going down that Jane was worried about. Maybe she was afraid of something.
My paranoia started with the murder. It put a lot of fear in everybody.
How many of you went to the Burger Chef?
2 in a car, 2 in a blue van.
I will never forget that van.
When the shots rang out, Jane and Mark bolt.
A 6-day bombing spree rocked the town of Speedway. If it's drug-related, it's Brett Kimberlin.
I think he's evil. I'd say 6 foot, had a beard.
A single file line of kids.
It looked like Jeffrey.
We have pertinent
There was
information.
a crew of 5 guys robbing all the burger chefs.
It's not fair. It's time that the families have some measure of resolution and closure.
If you did talk, then something bad would happen to you. It's been a true secret that I've held for 40 years.
Why?
Right? Well, it does look interesting. I think at least she's seen it already. I will be checking it out. Insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it too, just because now I want to see who else may be in that. I don't think that I have, because the last time we had talked about it, I looked at certain things. Hold on. New documents were released. Oh, that's different. Hold on. It may not be anything new. News Nation dropped that there were some new documents dropped on this, or released, I'm sorry, about a year ago.
Food restaurant chain that started in Indianapolis in 1954. The last location to carry the name closed in 96. But it was November 17, 1978 that marked the worst event in the company's history. And it happened right near its own backyard in Speedway, Indiana. 4 young employees began the night shift, but by midnight, they had vanished, never to be seen alive again. 2 days later, their bodies were found in a wooded area about 20 miles from the restaurant. The victims were 20-year-old Jane Freed, the assistant manager, and 3 teenagers, Mark Flemings, Ruth Shelton, and Daniel Davis. 2 of them were shot, 1 stabbed, and another beaten to death. Nearly 45 years later, the case still remains unsolved, but the families cling to hope that they will one day find justice.
I'm here today because that I'm standing up for my sister. I'm here today to stand up for all of them and ask that someone come forward and talk. We don't have all the answers. And there's someone out there that does.
Well, thanks to the persistence of an Indiana attorney and podcaster, Kevin Greenlee, the FBI has now released a trove of documents from its investigation, some 400 plus pages. Kevin Greenlee joins us now along with Anya Kane. They're both hosts of the Murder Sheet podcast. Thank you both for being here. I'd like to dive right in and start with Kevin. So what made you want to request these files back in 2019 from the FBI? And do you think these new details will bring new hope to finally solving this case?
I decided to request these files because the FBI was actually involved in the investigation of the case for the initial days, and I was aware that they got some crucial statements from witnesses back when the events were still fresh, and their recollections were especially sharp. So I really felt strongly that there could be crucial information in there that had been forgotten or buried. And I do believe that answers to this mystery lie in the case files, both in the case files of the FBI and the case files of the Indiana State Police, which have yet to be released publicly.
So Anya, what is the most striking thing you've learned from looking at these decades-old files? Was it those witness accounts?
Absolutely. There's a lot of information from both the families of the victims and fellow employees of that Burger Chef restaurant that indicates that there may have been something going on at work around the time of the murder. Employees who had been recently fired or employees who had issues with manager Jane Fried. And so that's something we're looking very seriously at, because when you look at fast food homicides, oftentimes there's a strain of these types of murders that involve inside jobs, people who are dissatisfied employees coming back and robbing the place, and the robberies essentially going on.
Got it. So Kevin, do you think drugs may have played a major role here?
Drugs certainly seems to be an undercurrent that runs underneath this case. There was certainly reports of drugs being sold by employees at the restaurant. There's actually an indication in this document that an employee had recently been fired from the Burger Chef restaurant for his involvement in drug dealing. And that raises a lot of questions.
So we have about a minute left, and I think this question is really important, Anya. What do you think about the way Indiana State Police handled this case from the very beginning?
There's definitely been some controversy. I'll say there's been lots of different work done by Indiana State Police personnel, and some of it very good over the years. I think that right now what we need is more openness from the state police and more willingness to share information that they have, because I don't believe this is a case that is going to necessarily be solved by DNA. I think this is old-fashioned police work, re-interviewing people, seeing what relationships have changed and what stories have changed. And that requires some openness if they're not willing to do those interviews themselves.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And
I gave you the link to all 400 and was it? The mouse is being stupid.
Oh boy.
The link to the all 414 pages of that FBI file for you. You're welcome.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of pages there. A whole bunch of pages. I mean, it starts there. And then just on and on and on and on and on and on. Interesting. How'd you get this so fast?
Because I live in Indiana.
Oh, that's right. Derp. A derp, a derp, burp. Interesting. I wonder if we could see things differently than law enforcement did in this, because I'm telling you.
Possible.
If I'd have known that, I'd have said something about it before we could have done that. Maybe we'll have to come back and go through the documents one day. because there's a lot,
Yeah.
a whole lot.
I think to the right side, it gives you specific things you can like. I don't know if it's to that.
It might be to other things in
It
the
might be.
yeah, but still, it's interesting to have the. Why did they redact so much stuff, though? I wonder.
Who knows?
Blank was interviewed at the residence of her parents, blank, whereby she advised as follows. She was born blank, 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 and then blank, 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 and then blank, blank, blank. Sure. I'm sure we could figure it out.
Sure.
Daniel Davis is described as a white male, but yeah, we could probably go through.
Chris, are you wanting the link?
Yeah, we could come up with 42 different theories on it. That ain't no lie, especially considering that the documents are here.
Let me do this. Go to your page.
We may have to just come back and do another show on it one day and do the whole document, read and breakdown on it, which would be a lot longer than a normal show, but maybe a couple shows. And see if it make any more sense. But I don't think that it would, you guys, because of all the mistakes and all the ridiculousness involved.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do, guys. I'm gonna put it on his community page.
Yeah, you guys can absolutely take it, look at it, pull it apart, do whatever you want to do. 100%. Police suspect gangs of crime spree. Police baffled by kidnappings. There's a lot to. Oh, there's the White Vega. There's a lot to it, you guys. There's a lot. I'm still interested, though. With all this, something's wrong. Something ain't right.
I will put it in the Discord too. Just
yeah, throw it in the
members.
Right. That way, anybody, if they want to break it down, you guys are more than welcome to.
All right, there you go, guys.
There you go, guys. Get a look at it. Thank you, Mom Bear.
You're welcome.
Anybody, any thoughts? I mean, it's crazy, of course, but any thoughts from you, Bear?
No.
It's wild.
Not really.
It's wild for sure.
Didn't they say all three that they thought were the guys are dead?
They're dead. Yeah. Well, didn't he say though that the other situation that he gave three names of others that were involved? I don't know if that's what you mean, or if there was other people they said were. I got a little confused in some of this because there were too many people involved in the possibility of being suspects. But if we could get some time together and break this down and look through it slowly, it might make a little more sense. I'm gonna go watch this document, not right in a second, but at some point. What is it called? The Speedway Murders?
I'm
gonna watch that. If I could have played on here, I would have played it for you guys, but I can't. Obviously. I'm gonna watch that and see what I get out of it, and then I have the documents to refer to. Thank you to Mama Bear.
And I put the link on my community page too.
There you go. There deserves to be, I think, some sort of closure for some of the families and the people involved, and or some form of justice, possibly. Even if it's to know for a fact who did it. You know what I mean?
I think that would be fun, SRB, as long as you guys did it before 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we could do that one day. Break it all down and see what we get out of it.
I think I don't know if she was talking about that or the movie.
Either. Yeah, the movie. Yeah, we could do it in the Discord too.
Yeah.
Definitely before Mama Bear were to hit the bed. Oh, okay, Taylor.
Have a good life, hon. See you later.
Good luck with it. Very much. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look at that. I'm just curious now. It looks good. That's another one I have coming up soon. One of our, I don't know if it's gonna be Wednesdays or Fridays, but I have to pick what day I'm doing it. But either one, I'm doing the Cleveland Torso Murders. If anybody's familiar.
I don't think.
Are you not familiar with it? It's interesting. Wild, another wild one. Yeah, it's pretty gross one, Chris, but it's interesting at the same time. Very much so.
And, like I've said before, you make it into it and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I have heard of this. I just didn't realize there was a name that went with it.
I know it's hard to believe, Michelle, that these things actually truly happen too, I mean, it almost makes you feel like a small child again. Like when you go in and you start looking into this and you're like, that really happened. It's hard to believe, but it does happen. Lots of them do. Nope, nothing there. Okay. Nothing. I didn't see anything about another robbery. Oh, right, Chris, right.
I'll be right back. I think somebody's at my door.
Yeah, you're fine. Let's see. Understood, Taylor. Okay.
Okay.
Everything good?
Yeah, it's just CPS.
There you go. Yes, it does. It's world of crime. Oh, yes, ma'am, it is. Very much so. Very much so. Let's see here.
Is it getting worse or are we just more aware?
I think we're maybe a little bit of both. We're definitely more aware. We have more options to see into these things. But I think because in some senses it's still getting worse in some ways too. 1% of cold case, right? It's very sad, Stacy. That percentage is real, folks, that she just threw up there. Literally 1% of cold case criminal cases get solved. That's horrible. Way horrible. Yeah, there's a lot more sourcing now and a lot more ways to get information, but they're still not getting solved. Now, DNA cases are definitely getting solved. Get out of there. Because of the IgG type stuff that's helping in that. And that's amazing. That's wonderful. But there's still a lot of other cases where they don't have that kind of stuff that are going unsolved, which again breaks it back down to that whole 1%. 1% of a whole lot is nothing. So it is. It's probably the lowest statistic within those statistics of this type of stuff that you'll see. And I'm hoping I hope that percentage goes up due to genetic testing and DNA and all that stuff. Hopefully over the years, it'll start to climb and really start solving some of this stuff. That's my hope, at least. Well, I guess that's it then. Nobody seems to have any questions. Mama Bear doesn't. I don't anymore. I'm still floored at how stupid some of this was.
Yeah, I'm just kind of surprised the information that I hadn't heard before.
Because when we went through this once before, it was like, oh wow, okay. This was completely different with all the letters and notes and all the other people, and it's like, where the hell did this all come from? Which is good. Okay,
Right.
SRB, be careful, hon. Which is good, but still, the whole thing is insane. It doesn't make any sense the way it went down. Huge backlog. Oh yeah, there's a monstrous amount of it. You are absolutely right, Stacy. Huge backlog of DNA waiting to be tested.
Oh yeah.
It's going to take forever and a day to even catch up, let alone be ahead.
Well, and I think that's part of the story I told you that I was working on yesterday. That hers has been so long because the DNA backlog is so horrible.
Yeah. And it, like I said, as we're seeing a lot of these cases be tried again with the open back up with new DNA aspects attached to it, they're solving them left and right, and that's amazing to me. But there's so much, like you said, backlog. It's going to take forever and a day to get through them.
Yeah, and I think it was something on the news maybe that they were contemplating all of the rape kits that are backlogged, just throwing them out.
I heard that. Yeah, I remember that. That's don't do that.
Yeah.
There's so many of those cases that disturbingly need to be taken care of for the sake of the victims,
Yep.
It's crazy. Very crazy. Wow. Well, like I said, you guys, I think that's going to do it for this show for today. I appreciate you guys joining us. Mama Bear, it's always great to have you here. I'm going to try and be here this afternoon, you guys. The boss lady's home, and we're still spring cleaning this monstrous house little by little by little. So she's got another honeydew list for me to cover. If I can get done with it in time, because I don't want to do a late one tonight. I want to get as early as I can and get in and out, be done. And if by some chance I don't make it back in here, I will be back in the morning. But yes, Mom Bear, thank you for joining me as always.
You're welcome.
And everybody in the chat, thank you as always for being here again. I very much appreciate you all. Don't forget to love yourselves and love each other, guys, and don't change a thing. You guys are the beautiful people. Thank you to my Blue Crew. God, Lord knows I couldn't do this without you. I wouldn't do it. I shouldn't do it. Thank you to anybody that dropped super chats and super stickers or supported the channel via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. You guys are all amazing. Again, guys, we don't ever expect it, but it is so very much appreciated. Please, guys, don't forget, if you did, to pop on over to Mama Bear's side of things and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't, and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss nothing there. Make sure to hit the like button on your way out the door here and share this out as well. I don't know. Anything else to add to that before we get out of here?
Nope. That's pretty much
All right. Sounds like a plan. I will see you all very soon. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Much love, and bye-bye now.
Bye, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Typing at the speed of light, hunting down the shadows, bringing wrongs to right, digging deep in the data, facts sharp as a knife. With every single story, he's fighting for a life. A voice for the voice. at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. From the shadows he rises, streaming loud and clear, cracking cases open, hearts filled with fear. These channels are beacon in a world gone wrong. He guides us through the chaos, a soldier so strong. The clicks and the lights, they follow his lead. With every new case, he plants a new seed, sharing their stories, giving hope where it fades. Daniel's a warrior through the trials he waves. In a world of silence, he shouts out their names. Daniel's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. From the shadows he rises, streaming loud and clear. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. From the shadows and moments, he won't let us fall. Bringing the truth out, answering the call. For every soul forgotten, he's here to stand tall. Daniel the genuine, will always give it his all. Daniel's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the